Alright guys, today we're gonna be reacting to the Cologne Cathedral history of a German Gothic masterpiece. 40 minutes of video. Ooh, we just, you know what, for personal development and for you guys, because some of you guys have recommended this multiple times. We're just gonna simply jump in and enjoy this amazing video because I know it's gonna be a great experience. For those that are part of my Discord, thank you so much. This is where the video is coming from. Also, if you like to subscribe, you like my content, make sure you like to subscribe. That really helps my content. And also for donation, you can do it through the super chats button or links in the description. Let's jump in. Let's see what's going on. Brought my coffee here and my set of popcorn because it's gonna be a long video. Let's go, man. I'm pumped.
Thousands of visitors a day. Its magnetic appeal extends well beyond the city that surrounds it. The cathedral is brimming with priceless art and cultural treasures and inspires awe and admiration. And yet, it is a vulnerable colossus.
The secret of Cologne Cathedral.
The cathedral is a long-term construction site. Scaffolding seems to be a permanent fixture. Cathedral architect Peter Füsenich and his team are responsible for securing and preserving the gigantic structure. Weather and air pollution take their toll. The maintenance bill runs to around 20,000 euros a day.
Damn.
The stone here is much yellower than it is up there.
Die Arbeiten, die am Dom notwendig sind.
The cathedral itself tells us what needs to be done. We basically just set priorities and do the work.
Reihenfolge und in eine Priorität bringen.
Right now, Füsenich is planning projects that will not be carried out for another 50 years.
Damn.
Und es ist auch
What? 50 years? Man, that's a long time, man.
eine kleine Aufgabe.
It's a big responsibility, and we need to approach our work with a bit of humility.
Zu dürfen, weil man natürlich auch
That's because we can complete just a fraction of the work that needs to be done.
Teil der Arbeiten, die am Dom notwendig sind.
Damn.
Through the centuries, many have sought to exploit the cathedral for their own ends. Kings, emperors, and cardinals. The cathedral seemed to inspire a sense of greed in these people, and not just because of its treasures.
There are lots of people who protect the cathedral, and very few that we need to protect the cathedral from.
So well protected.
Cologne Cathedral is a world unto itself. And the master of that world is Provost Gerd Bachner. Nothing takes place here without his permission.
Imagine all the ghosts living in that cathedral. By many of them.
But Bachner's jurisdiction is limited. Everything that goes on outside the building, for example, on the Domplatte or Cathedral Square, is a matter for the city of Cologne.
Oh. Oh, that's beautiful. Look at that.
The Domplatte is a crazy place. There's a lot going on here. And on a Saturday like today, it's really busy. 20,000 people a day visit the cathedral. It's the most visited place in Germany.
Angela Schlösser has worked as a guide at the cathedral for more than 20 years.
When I started doing guided tours, we just walked into the cathedral and looked around. It was all very casual, not like it is today. Later, they decided to regulate the flow of visitors. That makes sense. So now only 10 groups an hour are allowed. That helps people get more out of the tour. If people were just herded through the place...
that's at least more control, right? You're not just rushing through it. You have enough time.
They are at Versailles, they wouldn't enjoy the experience. And it wouldn't do justice to the cathedral either.
Yep.
Filming in the cathedral is strictly forbidden. This is a place of worship, after all. And church officials want to maintain the cathedral's dignity and integrity.
Interesting, huh? Interesting thoughts.
Still, visitors do take photos and videos for their own private use to show the folks back home that they were actually here. But the 20,000 visitors a day do have an impact. They throw used chewing gum on the floor, scribble on the walls, and leave behind a mixture of fabric fibres and particles that they've exhaled. All this creates problems for the cathedral.
Really, huh?
You've got all these people moving through the building, and those particles settle on the artworks. So we work constantly to limit the damage. But we also want to make sure that the building remains open to a large number of visitors.
That includes the faithful. Up to 6 masses a day are held here.
Wow.
These services provide brief respites between the waves of tourists.
Many of them don't show proper respect. Right now, we have a problem with Pokemon players. We've actually seen them leaping over pews. I'm not a very religious person myself, but I still find...
When was this? This was during the Pokemon Go? No, that was 4 months ago. Pokemon. Bro, Pokemon Go is just a thing of the past. Probably what, 2017? Yeah.
Find it annoying. It's disrespectful. Cologne Cathedral is a remarkable achievement. It took centuries to build, and people should respect that.
The security staff are responsible for keeping things under control, but who decides how the cathedral's public image should best be preserved? That's an issue that has long concerned writer and cabaret artist Martin Stankowski. He's lived in Cologne for decades.
Wow.
The Cathedral Advisory Board claimed that they have the authority to interpret that, but that's not correct. The board does represent the religious side of things, but there are also artistic and political considerations, and all sides have a legitimate claim when it comes to making decisions on those various issues.
The distinctive silhouette towers over Cologne's post-war concrete landscape. From every direction, the cathedral dominates the skyline, an imposing landmark at the heart of the city.
Wow, look at that, wow. From miles away, wow, look at that. Look at the cathedral, very put together, my God. Huh, wow.
All sorts of things are marketed under its name, including cookies and beer. It's not a registered trademark. Unfortunately, there's no legal obstacle to people using the word cathedral. But on the bright side, the fact that manufacturers seek to associate their products with the cathedral shows that it's regarded as a valuable commodity.
But for the provost, the cathedral is first and foremost a church. His favourite spot is halfway along the choir section. It's a place that gives him strength, a place where he can pause and reflect.
Regardless of whether you're religious, you can answer the life's important questions only if you can step back from the hustle and bustle and find a quiet spot. And you can do that in a sacred place like this. The cathedral has an inner radiance that draws people to it.
But there is also a hidden side to the cathedral. Deep down below the nave, you can see the medieval foundations and traces of 2,000 years of history.
Wow!
They bear witness to the colourful past of this. The cathedral's inner sanctum. Long before the Gothic edifice was completed, people made pilgrimages here to see Cologne's greatest treasure.
The cathedral was built to house the shrine, and the shrine was created to store the mortal remains of the three kings, the Magi.
The earlier cathedral, a Romanesque church, is where the relics were first kept when they were brought here from Italy.
Oh, give me goosebumps, man. Wow.
The relics were in Milan, and Cologne's archbishop saw his chance and took it. He pocketed the relics. No one here complained. He turned Cologne into a major pilgrimage center.
It was a lucrative business model for the church and for the city. Cologne ended up becoming the biggest medieval city north of the Alps.
Cologne's reputation as a commercial center, a cultural center, and a transport hub extended far beyond the Rhineland. And of course, the city needed a church, a state-of-the-art religious landmark, to emphasize its stature.
At the time, the pyramids at Giza in Egypt were the world's largest structures. But in the 13th century, the title passed to Cologne's cathedral. Skilled labor from all over Europe took part in its construction.
Die Menschen, die den
Those early cathedral builders did an incredible job. They were the first people to lay the foundations for a building that they would never see completed.
Grundstein für ein Gebäude zu
And they
Imagine
knew
that,
it.
huh?
Ende. Sie, das wussten sie.
Imagine that, man. You know you're building something you're never gonna see the completion. Huh. My God, bro. And I don't think they knew it. I don't think they knew it.
Niemals
Wow.
selbst fertig sehen würden.
Is above ground.
Válgame. Oh, damn. Wow.
Heute würde ein
Today,
Statiker
a structural
sagen,
engineer would say that this is way over the top. The foundations don't need to be this big. But it also means that we don't need to worry if there's an earthquake.
Erdbeben gibt
Good point.
And this is the most earthquake-prone region in Germany. Two types of rock were used to make the foundations: hard black basalt and a casing of softer rock made of volcanic ash to cushion earth tremors. The structural solution for the high-vaulted ceilings is equally ingenious. Without the buttresses, the window walls would lack the necessary stability. The area around the altar is supported by numerous arms. This creates a solid structure that is nevertheless airy and weightless. It's protected like a castle by crenellations and turrets, yet it is still light and transparent.
Beautiful.
A
huh?
medieval
Look at that.
marvel erected in just
My
70
God, look at those
years.
details. It's like something out of this world, man. Like you would not even believe that they made this hundreds of years ago. Even thousands. I don't know, man. Wow.
Imagine that you're living in the Middle Ages in a small half-timbered house. Cologne was a city of half-timbered houses. A stone house was a luxury. Your windows would have been about this big. But what was in the windows? Not glass. It was animal hide or oil-soaked cloth. And when it was cold in winter, the shutters were closed. So that's your home. And then imagine yourself, a pious medieval Catholic, stepping into the cathedral.
Wow.
This was the view that presented itself to pilgrims for centuries.
Wow. Also, it's like an image of what is possible, right? So it's in an image, right, of you thinking what is possible. Look at that. You see something like this, like, man, this is insane. This is insane.
The oldest window in the cathedral dates from 1260. Sunlight makes the colours so intense and luminous that many at the time thought that the glass panes were precious stones. But people didn't come to the cathedral just to see the windows.
People made pilgrimages to the
Wow.
gold shrine that held relics of the Magi. It didn't matter what was inside. The main thing was that people came. They stayed overnight, did some shopping, bought some presents, perhaps paid a visit to a brothel, and then went home.
But the cathedral was far from finished. After the area around the altar was completed, the aisles and parts of the south tower were built. But then construction came to a halt for hundreds of years.
Really? Why is that? But why? Well, we have wars.
In the 16th century, Cologne was in economic decline. Martin Luther had arrived on the scene, so indulgences were getting harder to sell. Gothic architecture was now well and truly passé. The old building crane was left at the top of the unfinished tower, and it stayed there, squeaking and creaking for 300 years.
Wow.
I think that living with a stopgap solution, this unfinished project, played an important role in shaping the mentality of the people here. Cologne is not a particularly beautiful city, nor is it a world beater, but it's brilliant at being second-rate. So where does that ability to live with second best come from? I think it may have to do with the fact that it's most
hold up.
important.
Look at that guy's fingers. You guys see that? One finger, this guy's like 3 of mine. Look at the finger of this guy.
Building was never finished.
God
but
damn,
was
you see what I'm
always
saying?
Still
One finger of this guy is 3 of mine. That's one finger. Wow.
functional.
The people of Cologne didn't mind having a half-finished cathedral. The structure fell into disrepair. Under Napoleon, French troops occupied the city. The archdiocese was dissolved and the cathedral became an ordinary parish church.
Okay.
For the Catholics, of course, that was a bitter pill to swallow. Their church had been taken away from them. It was now a military barracks, and it was in a dreadful state.
Der Zustand muss ganz jämmerlich gewesen sein.
Lowest point in the cathedral's history. The French even used part of the structure as a stable.
Disrespectful, man.
During that period, the medieval archive was also lost. Even
Oh, wow.
today, we don't know if it still exists, or if it does, where it might be.
Oh.
The blueprint, known as Facade Elevation F, also disappeared at that time.
Fassadenriss F mit verschwunden.
Facade elevation F is an original medieval drawing of the west portal, the blueprint of the cathedral.
Wow.
Die Geschichte des sogenannten Fassadenrisses.
The story of Elevation F is quite incredible.
des 19. Jahrhunderts.
It's 4 meters high, drawn in ink on parchment, and was rediscovered
Yeah, 4
in the
meters.
mid-19th century.
Ziegenhaut auf Pergament
Half of it turned up in Paris.
wurde wieder aufgefunden. Die eine Hälfte ist in Paris wieder aufgetaucht.
It was found among a job lot of architectural drawings that was bought by a collector who had a special interest in Cologne Cathedral. But the crucial left half was missing.
In Darmstadt, and it proved a perfect match for the other half. Someone had been drying beans on it. That was lucky, because otherwise it might have been thrown away and lost forever.
Hätte man das nicht getan,
Isn't that what happened with Johann Sebastian Bach? A lot of his music just got thrown out, and Felix Mendelssohn found part of his music because the butcher was wrapping the meat with his music.
in den Müll gesteckt und
Crazy, man.
alles weg.
The drawing showed precisely what the cathedral was originally intended to look like. After the 300-year break, the Prussians resumed construction. Around the site, entire streets of houses were demolished to maximize the majestic building's visual impact.
Wow.
A new square was created, and it quickly drew crowds of local residents.
The square is really popular, and at the same time, it's a local landmark, so people are always reinterpreting it and using it to promote their own interests. But I think the square is more than just a stage.
The city permits 6 major events a year to be held outside the cathedral, but these events must be compatible with the dignity of the church. Whether that criterion is met by every street artist is debatable.
Some musicians show up with amplifiers and play or sing the same song 10 times a day. You can hear it in the confessionals where people come to pray and reflect. That's really disruptive, no doubt about it.
Auch schon eine Belastung für den Dom, ohne Frage.
Speaking of disruptive, in the mid-1980s, the Cathedral Square became a rendezvous point for skateboarders from all over the country. Christian Schakat was one of them.
Oh, nice kickflip.
There was a lot going
That's
on
good.
here, and it was cool to be part of it. The backdrop was cool too, especially at night when the cathedral was lit up. That was special, and it made you want to stay out there a while longer and skate.
Eine Runde gefahren, so zum Ausklang.
The debate went on for 20 years. Finally, the skateboarders had to move elsewhere. Some of them are still upset about that decision.
It's purely subjective. Some people thought that we were violating the integrity of the cathedral. But how can you damage a cathedral's reputation? How can you do that by skateboarding?
He has a point. He has a point.
So what is acceptable and what isn't outside Cologne Cathedral? The debate about that is probably as old as the building itself, and it continues today.
Wow, look at that. Look at that picture. Wow. Man. How can you describe this? Huh? Tell me, how can you describe it? What can one word be used to describe this? Majestic. That's my word. Majestic.
Fueled by the immediate proximity of the city's main railway station.
No other European city has a cathedral right next to a railway station. You almost stumble into the cathedral when you leave the station. The cathedral's north door used to be open, and on a rainy morning, commuters used to take a shortcut through the church, so the cathedral board had the door locked.
Prussians who wanted the main railway station built right next to the cathedral.
Why?
The idea was to create an impression of progress and modernity.
Well, hey, listen, if they wanted to just rebuild that cathedral just to keep it alive, at least they have a little bit of, a little bit of power to say so. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to give it to them.
Steel bracing. The cathedral also has an iron roof truss, despite opposition from local traditionalists. It was used to preserve the cathedral's structural integrity. Steel helps protect against fire and woodworms.
Keep it strong,
But
too.
more importantly, industrial-age technology enabled the cathedral's construction to be swiftly completed at last. American engineers are said to have learned a lot here for later use in the construction of skyscrapers. But it was the local population who benefited most.
Yep. Nice job.
It was also a job creation scheme for Cologne workers. The cathedral was always a project by and for the local community. And in the
So you always have money moving in, right? So you have money just circulating. Those same workers, they need to eat. They go buy some bread, some, local food. So it's a very good economical source for the city.
In the 19th century especially, there was a very close connection between the community and the cathedral.
When the cathedral was finished, it was the tallest building in the world,
Wow.
a powerful symbol. But there was a price to be paid.
Look at that, the cross.
The Prussians used the cathedral to advance their own agenda. There was no more talk of the Magi. The cathedral was now a symbol of German national identity, and in particular German unification.
When the German Empire was founded in 1871, the Prussian emperor wanted to call the world's attention to the new nation, which extended as far west as the Rhineland.
The Rhineland had been German territory since the Middle Ages, but was also claimed by France. The emperor needed a powerful symbol that represented German architecture and was located in the Rhineland. Cologne Cathedral fit the bill perfectly.
So the cathedral construction project became a symbol of German nation building and therefore took on a new political significance. Even today, the cathedral often plays a symbolic role in various political efforts.
Look at that. It's the cross right there. Wow, that's interesting. Wow.
Der Dom wird genau so inszeniert.
Back in the 1960s, for example, Heinrich Böll, Günther Wallraff, and others, including me, held a religious service to protest the death penalty in Spain.
Mal einen Gottesdienst gemacht haben gegen die
We went into the cathedral, said some prayers, and held a kind of vigil.
veranstaltet.
The vigil, led by Nobel laureate Heinrich Böll, made headlines. The tabloid press portrayed it as an occupation. If you hold a political event at a major location, it has a major impact. The cathedral has been the scene of numerous similar events since Böll's prayer for peace.
The cathedral draws political activists like a magnet.
That's interesting, right?
When Josefina Witt visited
I mean, I don't
the
know what a lot of
cathedral
people
for
say,
the first
but religion and politics, they're like this. Interconnected. Interconnected, man. For centuries. So
time
this is not,
with her
not
family,
new at all.
she could not know that she would one day stage a feminist protest there.
We drove to Cologne, and as we got closer to the cathedral, we played a game to see who could spot it first. I won. I can still remember the overwhelming sight of it. You looked up, and it seemed endlessly tall. It was breathtaking.
A few years later, Witt was looking for a place to stage a protest against the oppression of women.
What a pressure.
We decided to hold the protest in a church, and Cologne Cathedral came to mind right away. Because it's so big, and because Cardinal Meissner was still in office.
Cardinal Joachim Meissner, Archbishop of Cologne, known for his conservative views. Meissner's perception of women made him the perfect target for the feminists' protest.
We had radical demands. These included the overthrow of the entire patriarchal system, and when a building ties
bro.
patriarchal...
This is, oh my God, this is a second wave feminist. My God, bro. Even third wave. To throw away the patriarchy by using the patriarchy to throw away himself. Man, it just, sometimes these things don't make sense, right? By using a patriarchy architecture. You can make this stuff up, bro.
power
You can,
so
huh?
closely to a particular ideology, it's an obvious place to try to break that power, at least for a day, or even for a brief moment.
Oh.
Christmas 2013. Protest and provocation in a sacred place on a sacred day.
Damn, man, bro.
I was
Bro, for real, you have to do that, man. You have to do that, huh?
extremely nervous and excited. It was Christmas, and everyone was in a Christmassy mood, including me. It wasn't really a time for a protest. So it was a really big deal, and I knew it wasn't going to win me any friends.
Yeah, but you know, see, listen. You need to, as a feminist, you need to protest. You say, you know, do your thing. That's fine. But doing like that, bro, you earning a lot of enemies, man. You're earning a lot of enemies because that's their time for them to really decompress. They have a rough year or a very good year. They want to give thanks. And here you are running through a moment of meditation. Have you guys been in a meditative group, and all of a sudden you hear a lot of noise in the background and stuff like that, and all of a sudden you get a little bit like, hello, I'm trying to have my meditative state under control, but here you are just making doing constructions in the outside of my home. It's the same thing, man. I don't know what's the point, man. Like, I don't know. It is what it is at this point.
Dass es dann so eskaliert.
I didn't think it would escalate to the point of physical violence,
Hätte ich mir nicht gedacht, aber
but I was afraid that it might.
Befürchtung hatte ich schon.
Witt saw the protest as an act of free speech.
Well, the thing is that you don't have free speech in Germany. It's only free of expression. It's different. Two different. It's a different concept, though. Free speech is free speech. I mean, free speech, you allow 90% of things to be said. Unless it's, against a threat of violence, right? Or defamation. Even defamation could get you the free speech, right? As long as you're not creating any type of, how can I say, interrupting that person from living, right? Like, it's like, let's say that your free speech has created a defamation, things that are not true. All of a sudden, you cannot find a job, you cannot do a lot of these things. But you're open to a litigation, but you're not going to prison for that. You see what I'm saying? You're not going to prison. You're going to get out of litigation, but you're not going to prison. Then Germany's different. Germany, you cannot even swear to somebody because you can get in trouble. You can get sued quick. United States, we don't have that. It's two different systems. So the narrator, they need to fix that. It's not freedom of speech. It's a freedom of expression. Let me know if I'm wrong on that.
There's a place for everything. People can demonstrate, but this is a place where others come to commune with God, find peace, pray, and celebrate the liturgy.
Yeah.
For their sake and for the sake of God's will, I am radically opposed to such protests.
100%.
Josefina Witt was arrested,
That
found
looked very
guilty
cool, I'm
of
not gonna
gross
lie.
interference with the exercise of religion and fined.
Yeah, and she protests outside the church. I think that's fine. I don't think there's a problem with that. No, she had to demonstrate her concerns. That's fine. Police.
Everyone okay? No cause for concern?
Burkhard Jahn has patrolled the cathedral square for 27 years.
Wow.
He likes his job, despite the rising threat level.
Is this your backpack? Step closer, please.
Uh-oh. He's a real one. He doesn't play.
Terrorism is not a new problem.
He don't play around, bro. He does not. He's seen some stuff. Wow, man. Hey, respect to the guy, man.
It's been around for a number of years.
Burkhard Han.
Years. But we're still at risk, of course. Cologne is part of a danger zone that includes Germany and all of Europe.
Yep.
So what's the answer? Fences? More security personnel?
The best protection would be for people to just leave the cathedral alone. It's a place of worship, a place for pilgrims and the community as a whole. Some people who walk past might have their doubts about the cathedral, but once they go inside, they almost always find it a moving experience.
Since 2007, the magic of the cathedral has been enhanced by the new south window, the work of Cologne artist Gerhard Richter.
Wow, beautiful, man.
Wholly unsuitable, but after lengthy debate, the will of the cathedral board prevailed. Today, it's hard to imagine the south transept without it.
That's beautiful, man. Oh, it's beautiful. It's not bad, it's beautiful.
But where there is light, there is also shadow.
Uh-oh.
On November the 2nd, 1975, the cathedral treasury was robbed. Thieves got away with artworks worth several $1 million.
Damn.
The crime caused a sensation. There were appeals on TV for anyone who had information on the crime to come forward. The thieves gained access to the treasury through a ventilation
Like
shaft.
ninjas, man.
The cathedral's chief
They
custodian.
climbed that wall like ninjas. You see, they threw a hook, boop, climbed it up. Ninjas.
Was appalled at the way the robbery was carried out.
Bam.
These people were not trying to steal art, just gold and precious stones. And they tore apart some extremely valuable items to get them.
Senior public prosecutor Maria Theresa Mösch was in charge of the investigation. It was one of the most exciting cases of her career. On the night of the crime, some pedestrians saw two men climbing out of the cathedral. The witnesses gave chase.
The perpetrators split up and the witnesses lost track of them. The witnesses went to the railway police and told them what they'd seen. But the railway police said it wasn't their responsibility. Amazing, but true.
Man, this is the problem with public servants, man. They're lazy as hell, bro. Lazy, bro. I'm talking about lazy, man. Hey, not my problem. That's a state problem. Man, there has to be some kind of dignity, man. Your church just got robbed.
Ja, war ja wahr.
The next day, an artist who had a criminal record was identified as a prime suspect. The prosecutor immediately ordered a search of his apartment, and the stolen treasure was indeed there, as investigators later discovered.
Wow.
Der Koffer stand im Flur.
There was a suitcase behind the door in the hallway. But before a proper search could be conducted, 2 more men turned up. They were later found to be accomplices. So 2 police officers had 3 men to keep an eye on. The suspect's wife then saw her chance. She said she felt ill, walked out the door, and took the suitcase with her.
Hat gesagt, ihr ist es schlecht, ist rausgegangen, hat sich den.
She went down to the basement and put the bag in a neighbor's storage room.
Oh my goodness, look at that.
The suspect allowed police to search his apartment and cellar storage room. He knew that the bag was gone.
As police closed in on the prime suspect, he fled to Belgrade. There, he persuaded a dental technician to melt down the gold.
Der hat zum Teil die Sachen eingeschmolzen.
He did melt down some of the items, but others were so obviously valuable that he asked the suspect to spare them. But the suspect demanded that the precious stones be removed and the gold melted down.
Und dass das Gold eingeschmolzen wird.
A private detective working undercover managed to track down the treasure.
In Italien.
We recovered a lump of compressed metal, like a big salami. It was a heartbreaking sight.
Alles zusammengepresst. Es war schlimm, wie es aussah.
It took 10 years to reconstruct the damaged items. Theft is not the only problem that church officials have to worry about. There's also vandalism.
Wow.
Immer mal wieder sieht
The lighter spots up there are places that haven't been exposed to weathering. That's where it's been damaged by vandals. People climb up and use an umbrella to knock off a bit of a gargoyle or gable or pinnacle. We're very concerned about this.
oder Windberge oder kleine Vierhaltürme.
You know what? These are the things. You know what, crazy? This is where the police guys right, man. And society doesn't want to help either, man. Just close the damn thing. Put a huge burial where they can't even walk, man. Look at that, man.
A stonemason might spend a year and a half working on a canopy. So it breaks your heart to see that work destroyed. It makes all of us angry, of course. So we're trying to find new ways to protect the cathedral.
Man.
Man ist in der Situation zu überlegen,
I
was
hear
können wir
him,
denn
man. I
tun,
hear him. It's
um
just
den Dom
these
zu
people,
schützen.
man.
Since the wave of sexual assaults in Cologne on New Year's Eve 2015, there have been calls for tougher security measures at the cathedral.
There we go.
These include a fence around the entire building, like the one on the south side that stops people urinating on the wall. But many Cologne residents don't like the idea of putting back.
Yeah, bro. Like, oh my God, man. You know, we have small churches in Puerto Rico. We have a bunch of them, but you don't see this kind of stuff, man. People try to vandalize the church and stuff like that. Nah, man. No, we don't play. You know, we don't play that. We have criminals, but we don't do that, man. But there has to be some kind of, and this is something where the German government had to do something, man. Like you had to teach the importance of Christianity in your culture, man. You cannot just let it just go like that, man. Like you had to teach the importance of Christianity, man. Like you cannot just simply leave it as that was something from the past. I think the German government need to step up in that regard. Need to step up and say, you know what? We are a Christian nation, meaning like we come from these great values that this religion has brought, with the good and the bad, and we need to preserve some of these great, great works that we have here, even if you don't believe in that. But this is where we come from. And just protect it, man. Like, people just vandalizing stuff, man. Oh my God.
Barriers around their cathedral.
Yeah, people works very hard, man. Look at that. Look at her. Oh, man, it kills me.
When this incrustation and dirt are removed, you can see some beautiful workmanship, all the wonderful stone carvings and sculptures from the 19th century. These are real works of art, and they're being restored to their former glory.
Good for him.
A conservator uses a laser to remove the dark dirt, and the light-coloured stone underneath remains intact. Afterward, the figures of the north portal seem brand new.
Wow.
But some of the sculptures still show signs of damage suffered during World War II. Some
I
were
was
faced by
I
bullets
was
or
gonna mention what about World War II? Man,
shrapnel. The war posed the greatest threat to the cathedral in its entire history.
man, it made me emotional, bro. Man, it made me a little bit emotional there, man. Wow.
By May 1945,
I haven't gone into this cathedral just to say that, man. Yes.
Cologne had been almost completely
Kills me,
destroyed, but one structure rose above the rubble. The cathedral, or what was left of it.
God is good, man. God is real, man.
A lot of Americans arrive here on the Rhine cruise ships, and I take them on tours. They're convinced that the Allies did not intend to bomb the cathedral. But there's no credible evidence to back that up.
I think so. We Americans are very religious. Yeah, you see that cathedral, you're like, oh, I don't know about this, man. I really don't know. No, but there's 20 Germans. I don't know about that, man. I don't want God to just follow me and do something. I'm telling
From
you.
a distance, the cathedral seems unscathed.
Well, it is, yeah.
A lot of people believe that the cathedral came through the war without any major damage, but that's wrong. The fact of the matter is that the cathedral suffered serious damage during the war,
Yeah, it was
not
a war.
least because it was located next to the main railway station. The cathedral was hit by no less than 14 Allied bombs.
Damn.
Large parts of the roof of the nave collapsed. Much of the north transept lay in ruins, and the cathedral...
But I think it's more like if you see the rubbles around it. We're talking more about that. He probably got hit a couple times, right? Let's just be honest. Like a couple bombs just went through it, blew a couple things. You know what I'm saying? But not compared to the rubbles, surrounded. Right? Like apples and oranges, right?
Organ was destroyed.
In autumn 1943, a bomb tore a massive hole in the North Tower. There were concerns that the tower might collapse.
Oh.
So, despite the wartime complications, the hole was bricked up, partly by forced labourers. After the war, Cologne was virtually unrecognisable. Only 40,000 people still lived among the ruins.
Wow.
Cologne, a proud city, and the oldest in Germany, was no more. But the fact that the cathedral was still standing may have given people hope. They saw that the cathedral had survived, and they might too. So they stayed put. The logical thing to do would be to leave. There was nothing left here. So I think the cathedral really did give strength and encouragement to the people of Cologne.
In 1948, to mark the cathedral's 700th anniversary, a mass was celebrated in the chancel.
Wow, it's beautiful, man. Wow. Unbelievable.
The war damage in the North Tower has been repaired. You can recognize the temporary filling by its lighter color.
Unbelievable.
That filling survived for decades, but it sparked an intense debate among preservationists. Some thought it should be removed. Others said it should be kept in place as a memorial to the war.
Yeah, I mean, like, I understand the two school of thought. One said, no, let these scars shows the battles that we went through, right? And the other one is saying, no, but let's just make sure that we can cure those scars and then we can just let it be as a little, something from the past, but showing that, this is like we used to look, or something like that, right? No, I think both school of thoughts are correct.
Des Zweiten Weltkriegs.
It was decided that this scar should be removed, even if it meant erasing a highly visible reminder of the city's recent history.
I know. Well,
Personally, I would have favoured the other option, but you have to respect the opinions of those who were affected by those events.
Yeah, good point.
Still,
Good point.
you've got to explain to people what that white spot is. Perceptions of buildings are always changing, depending on how you explain the context.
Good point.
Erläutert.
Good point.
A refugee boat as an altar. In May 2016, Cardinal Rainer Maria Wölki, Archbishop of Cologne, sparked vehement debate with this Mass held to mark the feast of Corpus Christi. The boat was later put on display in the cathedral, a reminder of the essence of the Christian message and a powerful political signal. The story made headlines around the world.
On a human, religious, and political level, I think it's brilliant that he used the cathedral in this way. A Corpus Christi procession featuring a boat from Lampedusa that saved refugees.
Oh, that was nice.
So, what sorts of activities are acceptable in the cathedral? There are lots of different answers. In summer 2016, Provost Gerd Bachner opened the doors to those who were attending the Cologne Computer Games Fair, Gamescom. There was electronic music, a light and laser show, and a party atmosphere. It put a new perspective on Cologne's largest structure.
Oh, that's nice. Look at that. Little robot doing this thing.
Ich möchte noch auch Brücken bauen. Vielleicht kannst du noch mehr.
I want to build bridges. Perhaps people can take away more from these events than they think.
Seinen Mut wollte ich gerade einfach mal den.
The idea was not just to address those who already have a close relationship with the church. It was designed to reach out to those who might have a problem with this God, this church, and this faith.
Hey, I like him.
Mit diesem blauen Schwert tun.
I like him.
Cologne Cathedral, a place for everyone, even those who want to
Oh, what the hell's going on? I thought that was a
use it for their own
I thought that was a spaceship just going down. That was just a light, a
purposes.
reflection.
But who owns it now?
I thought that was a spaceship.
The city of Cologne, I hope. All the people of Cologne.
I'd say it's owned by everyone who respects it and can feel its magic. And that can be anyone from anywhere. Cologne Cathedral belongs to the world.
Der Dom, und das ist
It doesn't
But who takes care of it? Come on, let's be real, man. Like, you're saying all these things, but who's taking care of it, man? Like, can we be real for 1 second? Oh, it's just owned by the world. Okay, let the world work on it. Let's see what happened. Exactly. This cathedral belongs to the people of Cologne.
belong to the Archbishop or the Archdiocese, as a lot of people think. The cathedral belongs to itself.
selbst.
Oh, that's a nice, interesting perspective.
And that's more than just a legal formula. The cathedral represents an obligation for the current generation and
Good
a
point.
gift to future generations.
Good point. Good point. I like that last statement, man. Wow. That was very good, right? The cathedral, Cologne Cathedral, belongs to the people of Cologne. They worked their ass off for years and years to come, and now it's time to just keep it running. Yeah, if you start letting other people come in to have a thought or an opinion of that cathedral, you're not gonna have another cathedral. I can guarantee you that. Man. You're not gonna have a cathedral. But let me know what you guys think. This was a beautiful, beautiful documentary. I really enjoyed it. You guys have no idea. This is very, very emotional in certain areas. But it's just there's something about the humans, right? There's something about that spiritual side, right? They give you that extra push to just do what is unimaginable. And Cologne that cathedral represents that. Wow. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I would love to hear you guys' opinion. In the meantime, I'll see you in the next one.